Hey there fellow gamers and cocktail enthusiasts, Ben here, and welcome to another Castles and Cocktails recipe video. So it's taken me a little bit of time to finally nail down a cocktail, but for my playthrough of the end of your edition Switch release of Nier Automata, or is it Nier Automata maybe? I'm not really sure. Probably Automata, that makes more sense. I found this game to be pretty crazy. Did not know much going in. I came recommended by a friend of mine, and I was just like, as soon as I saw it was showing up on Switch, I was like, well, heck, I guess I'll pick it up and see what this game is all about. So knowing basically nothing going in, I wasn't really prepared for exactly how the story is told in this game. Essentially, it is told through 3 acts, or 3, in many ways, playthroughs of the game. In that sense, it actually reminded me a little bit of the Stanley Parable, since that game you kind of have to play over and over again to really get everything. This game is quite similar to that, but in a much longer series of events. That said, it was a really wild ride, and if you missed any of those playthroughs or anything like that, they're at the top of this playlist, and this cocktail as well is also in that playlist, in addition to the cocktail playlist and all that other stuff. So search for Nier Automata on this channel, and you will find my playthrough of it. Took me a really long time to get through the game. I was very up and down, lots of frustrating moments. At a certain point, I got like, I'm just sick of this game. Please let it be over at this point. But now that I have completed it, I do want to go back at some point and find out all of the different endings, because apparently there's a crap load of them. But my gameplay experience aside, I was like, okay, what do I really want to do for the cocktail in this game? I wasn't sure for the longest time. And then I started thinking about the signature weapon of your character 2B, and that is the Virtuous Contract. Sorry, I had to double check. I kept, is it contract or contact? Contract. Virtuous Contract, which is the beautiful Japanese-style sword that the main character uses throughout the game, and it's in every cutscene, even if you switch to a different weapon. I found that it's a really interesting sword, and I thought, okay, that would be a fun element to use in the particular idea of the cocktail creation. So I went through some variations, thinking about maybe putting something in a Collins glass, because it is a very long sword. So thinking long sword, tall glass, but I couldn't really find a recipe that also embodied the best elements of the sword. So a little bit more thinking, and I came up with a fun martini variation that I think definitely fits the bill. So for 2B's Virtuous Contract, you're going to need some vodka. We're making a vodka martini today. I recommend something that is a wheat vodka, or just a general grain. I do like the winter wheat vodkas in general. So I've got some Kettle One for that. Nice clean flavor here. Something a little bit above bottom shelf will get you something a little bit smoother down on the palate. You want a bit of dry vermouth, as you would for any martini. You're going to need just a tiny little bit of some Luxardo cherry, maraschino cherry liqueur. This is sort of a bitter cherry flavor. It's not going to totally overpower the drink as long as you don't use too much. And you'll need a little bit of a juice from a cocktail cherry jar. Not the cherry itself, just the juice, and I recommend not getting something at the grocery store that has the red food coloring in it. Try and go for something a little bit more natural and darker red. Equipment for this drink, you're going to need just a simple mixing glass with ice, measuring device of some kind, I've got my Japanese jigger today, and a bar spoon. Okay, so let's actually make this drink now. So start things out with 2 ounces of your vodka. As usual, I have metric conversions and the entire recipe in the description box below. Add that to your iced mixing glass. You want a half an ounce of your dry vermouth. And then a simple bar spoon's worth of your Luxardo cherry. That's probably a little too much, but that's quite all right. Just take that and give it a nice solid stir. All right, after about 45 seconds, it should be good. Per usual, I've forgotten my strainer, so here it is now. Got a martini glass that's been chilling in the freezer. Go ahead and just strain that in. Now, on top of this, we're going to take that juice from the cherry jar and just drizzle a tiny little bit into the glass. That representing the plethora of blood that happens and gets onto the Virtuous contract. But that, standalone, is 2B's Virtuous contract. So essentially this is, again, just a cherry-ified vodka martini. But the little bit of added cherry juice at the bottom really kind of creates a much more unique presentation to this. It's very clean, that silver look, but the bit of blood at the end of her blade, I think, definitely is represented in this cocktail. So, 2B's Virtuous Contract. Let's give it a try. Sharp, much like the blade itself, but this is really quite smooth. And this is how you can tell you've made a good martini, too. Okay, now actually getting a little bit of burn at the back end there now, but very simple, smooth. No flavor is really too overpowering. You definitely get the cherry, but it's a nice, easy drink. If I'm sitting down playing this game again, I'll definitely be making myself at least a couple of these. With anything spirit forward, it's going to taste mostly like the alcohol. But as long as you chilled it well, too, it's not overpowering, and I think that's really quite something. You get definitely the hit from the vermouth, so you get that fortified wine flavor. And the cherry is the most dominant, but it's also not overpowering, like I had mentioned before. Now, like any layered drink, by the time you get to the bottom, you're just going to be tasting mostly that cherry juice. If you had used some bargain basement cherry juice, obviously, then yes, you're going to have the problem of it tasting very artificial. This is some stuff from the Jack Rudy Cocktail Company. These are bourbon cherries, so they have a much more natural flavor. So by the time you get to the bottom, when you've had that nice buzz from the spirit-forward drink, you're left just with a little bit of spirit left, mixing with that cherry juice to give you a nice little sweeter finish at the end and making you coming back for more. So when it comes to Near Automata, I keep saying automata in my head, but I'm like, that can't be right. I do find that this is a really fun game, and as far as playing on the Switch, I mean, I didn't play the original PlayStation version of it, but it felt pretty good. Not really a ton of complaints other than it felt a little tedious sometimes, but I think in terms of the overall experience, especially the experience of the story, and any good RPG where you get to really kind of choose the direction of the story a little bit and find new endings as a result, it's definitely worth a try if you're looking for something new and a little bit different. Now, this is actually old and a little bit different since it's a re-release, but still. While it isn't my favorite game in my Switch library, I definitely think it's worth playing again, though I think I'm going to give it some time before I do. So for this recipe, 2B's Virtuous Contract, if you guys decide to either play the game, have played the game, or decide to make this cocktail for yourself, let me know, because this was really a hard game to come up with a cocktail for. But for today, thanks guys for watching. Keep on gaming, drink responsibly, and I will see you guys next time.